New Year's Eve can be a really crazy time in today's human populations. But perhaps if we went back a few hundred years or if we went back a few thousand years, who knows? Who knows how much crazy behavior that we would possibly see. Welcome, I'm Alex Ansary, New Year's Eve video, right? Want to keep things kind of lighthearted. Also, maybe we'll go back and touch upon a few issues. You know, when I share elements of my story and the things that I've survived, it's things for you to ponder. It's about the real world as it is. When we talk about psychic self-defense, we talk about protecting your mind against intrusion. We talk about how we could be affected by others, the negativity of others. This includes environmental. Want to touch a little bit upon that. Also, hello to one of our viewers who is a trucker traveling cross country. I mentioned his YouTube channel before recently, Esoteric Gypsy, as well as others that are watching during this holiday season. I can tell you right now, here in Southwest Colorado, the snow is pouring down, right? Multiple inches, right? I'm okay on supplies. I really don't have enough fuel. And, you know, I had white rice for breakfast, and I'm okay with that. It wasn't really voluntary. I can also have some quinoa. I can also have some oatmeal. You know, I'm a little rough around the edges when it comes to smooth sailing, off-grid and style, right? There's a little bit left to be desired as far as self-improvement, building shelves, and really, I'm just in my head a lot, for better or for worse. Right? I don't think like the mind is totally like something that we have to free ourselves from. I think that the mind is a beautiful thing. And there's a lot of ways in which the mind is wasted through idle gossip and a lot of the, well, we can look at a lot of the content. We talked about that already, the YouTube algorithm, a lot of garbly-goo. I also notice if I just watch maybe one video, comical video, something that may be mainstream, just instant bombardment with the suggestions. It's like we really need to take a step back from how we're affected by a lot of the things that are trending by design, just like actual events and wars and other attacks that can be manufactured. We see the same thing with trends. We see the same thing with news. So I've mentioned the cable access thing a few times. I want to come back to that because that's something that not every YouTuber can identify with, nor every author that writes about the subject of spiritual self-defense. Okay. So imagine, if you will, right, a particular setting in any town, USA, right? My experience was in Portland, Oregon, but, you know, imagine yourself being seen on television in your community, challenging dominant belief systems, right? Challenging the official story, right? Of the event that got us in these wars. You know, things of that nature that on a level are relevant, but when basically shotgunned out, if you will, to a mainstream audience of any local demographic, a very large number of them are going to send a negative response back, not a positive. And it takes a strong spirit to deal with that. And I was able to tell the difference between the Bush years and the Obama years in terms of how it felt. Now on the internet, there's also variants of the flavor of how it feels being a content creator, challenging lies, but there's ways in which the Matrix tries to zap us back because of what we do. Send interference energy, oftentimes, right, disguised as support or through supporters. Remember, I do appreciate everybody that does support what it is that I do, but I can only be the person that you see on camera. I can continue to learn and read and try to improve myself, but I'm not going to be modeling myself into this type of perfect form. In fact, this is just, you know, kind of unplanned. I see myself continue to do what I do probably as long as I'm alive, but I was hinting at this yesterday, the YouTube element of it seems corded up with a lot of wickedness. And there's ways, right, touching upon this again, in which the algorithm will keep me and my message away from some of the people that need to hear it. I articulated some of those ways and methods, and how the real way that YouTube operates is almost opposite of what they present themselves to be, YouTube creators for change. I've also talked about how I feel that minorities of various kinds, from Black to Middle Eastern to Latino, in some cases are promoted or elevated in an element of politics or the mainstream media to provide a false sense of certain people coming up in the world. And there can be an artificial attempt in the mainstream media to make it look and seem as if a certain demographic of the nation is being replaced by others. But why would they do that, Alex? They do that for a multitude of reasons. And it's not always overtly related to the right wing. Or it includes the left. It takes a certain level of programming that is systematic, as far as I'm concerned. And I'm giving a lot of people credit then on the left and the right, by saying that I think then it must take a certain level of mind control and programming to convince a population to stand down after blood sacrifice by the millions. And a population could be told, hey, by the way, we're not counting the bodies anymore. Not counting any bodies anymore. And there would be no protests, right? And the crowd went wild for the next edition of Game of Thrones. And that's the thing that I scratch my head on, right? This big supposed meme, it's a false meme, that people are waking up, and everywhere I look, I hear these references to TV shows and comparison to TV shows. And it just never ends. Game of Thrones, what else? What else can we mention? House of Cards. We're constantly hearing like Netflix being dropped. Netflix is often being used as a gift. Hey, nothing wrong with gift giving, right? Somebody that wanted to offer Netflix is like, oh, you stop right there. No. Stop right there. Back up, right? No, you don't want to know my take on Netflix. Okay, let's just leave it at that. Keep the Netflix. And the other thing that is the grievance, and I'm a little calmer today. I've talked about this before. So they want to pick on the small content creator. And we deal with things that people that have millions of subscribers don't deal with. Just on that note. Let's start there and go back. You type in YouTube burnout content creators, they make it about PewDiePie. And even when they talk about it, and in this world of psychology, many people are burning out that are content creators that have millions of subscribers, but these are like, they're usually featuring just popular YouTube content creators that say that they're burning out, that have like 1 million subscribers. Now compare them to me. 16,000 subscribers. I do a lot more in some cases, and you know it, with less. And I've shined throughout the years. In fact, some of my most watched videos on relationships and the archons were done when I had nothing but was living in the back of a truck, and I had that edge. There was a part of me that had that eye of the tiger, that just didn't give a fuck. And one of the best things that you can have from someone that you end up liking and supporting is someone that tells it like it is without trying to custom tailor it for the audience. That's how one maintains their edge and their honesty with how they truly feel in the moment. And that's how one overcomes a sense of a blockage. I do a lot more for less and for different reasons. Okay. Big difference. Not that I need to explain that to you. Between an Alex Yancey and a Philip DeFranco, is it? And there's something about the Matrix in general, right? That will just keep dropping the names of some of these YouTubers that have millions of views. Okay, let's talk about the archetype of the element of our culture that only pays attention to people that are big. So, right, you have an issue with the adpocalypse. You have an issue with other things, but do they talk about, like I talked about yesterday in maybe 100 videos, how the independent content creator can be mismarginalized as right-wing conspiracy nut, put into a category and thrown an algorithm to where people of a certain ideology find my content, and others that might be a little bit more open to it, for some reason, never comes upon their radar. And I know if there is like an art to really targeting, not so much whether it be an audience or a specific topic or a keyword. And I don't take it to the obsessive level that other modern day computer gurus, we'll call it that. I don't have, in my opinion, the same drive that they do with regards to the SEO matrix, right? But there's fundamentals, right, that can be utilized. But ultimately, what someone really stands for can clearly be interpreted by artificial intelligence. And this entity can make or break a YouTuber. And within that, you have a box of boxes. It can be a little difficult to be truly outside the box in fully mind, body, and spirit while corded to a medium so in the box that's going to toy with the algorithm, that's going to dictate literally to a T what type of people come across my videos. I actually saw it like on a Trump channel, right? Suggestion related channels, Alex Ansary. On a Trump channel. They talk about Q, stuff like that. Recommended channels, Alex Ansary. Are you kidding me? This is a joke now. There's other jokes that almost seem to be coming out of this YouTube AI, but to the point to where I go, how could it be a mistake? In other games that are played, how could it be a mistake? So, the other thing that has been a theme is the need to be centered and stay out of drama around the holiday season, because there is something unconscious within the species that does that stirs up drama between people, emails, all that emoji energy. That's its own discussion. The intent behind emojis. And let's talk about that in social media. Now, on social media, right, you can come across an article, for example, that could tell you that, a certain amount of people just fell off into the sea and that was it. And it could see maybe 535 people laughing. That's a certain type of energy cordage with hundreds of people laughing at the dead. Does that seem to be something that might bring about positive energy, or maybe like drop someone's mood as they realize these people are being controlled and led by demons? And that social media is like a playpen for people that are basically falling in this fallen earth. Maybe there's a number of people that were saved. Hey, they were saved, right? They escaped the drowning. They were rescued, XYZ story, just anywhere in the world. Boom, right? 11,000 people angry. And then like detailed comments, right? There's a certain effect overall. In a way, social media can help wake us up. And if people really were looking at the truth as to where like the conspiracy is, it's in where people allowed their minds to go. Yeah. We need to free our mind to a certain degree, but we also need to realize that the mind is powerful. The mind should be used, right? Just memes and sigils about just, the mind is no good. Just run around and just like a blank space or auto. No, the mind has a purpose. There's also different things you can do to strengthen your mind, playing chess. Been a long time since I played chess in person. They got a coffee shop. Things like that are fun. Maybe talking, engaging with someone in a public place, having a conversation in public that you're not hiding behind closed doors, maybe speaking truth in public. Oh, man, what a rush. Like those wrestlers from the 80s. I was like, ooh, what a rush. Legion of Doom. But it is a rush. And it is like taking on the Titans with a powerful body slam when you speak the truth, and that truth cannot be disputed. And the facts cannot be challenged. Hands down, the person speaking that truth wins the debate. But it's not so much about having the debate, but speaking one's truth. And people pick up on that in society. People are also trained like poodles to mock the person that thinks that they have truth or some gnosis. Who do you think you are? And especially now in the day and age of a lot of people with the YouTube channel, no longer is it the day and age where I'll come across, wow, for a young guy, you came up with a lot of content, did a lot of interviews. There's been requests for interviews maybe in the future. Right now is a time where I think a lot of my things are coming to completion. There isn't like, and now I'm going to get into this, and now I'm going to theorize specifically this about Elon Musk, and now I'm going to take a theory this and bring in this. It's like a lot of the stuff that I talked about and have talked about for years seem to include the years in and around 2025, and we're moving in on that period. But as we move in on that period and I see validation after validation of things that I've warned about and I'm personally concerned about, 2019 needs to be a big year, as well as 2020, of me making a big leap. And certain goals coming to completion. Right? Certain things just happening for me. This experience that I have had now for 2.5 years has, if you will, illuminated me to certain things about the real world, crushed certain dreams, woke me up to certain realities about tribalism, certain things I talk about. Certain things are better for an audience in 10 years that's more emotionally able to handle the truth. I think the worst is yet to come. As far as like the bottoming out of this like dichotomy, I mentioned Derek Bros and what he has analyzed from Alex Jones and the martial law rhetoric, us versus them, calling for roundups, concentration camps of their political enemies. Now that's a 180. And when you have people like Gavin, by the way, point out a sword, a katana, well, that's symbolic. The sword, kind of like the sword and the stone. It's important they understand that it's very possible, more than likely, that we're dealing with agent provocateurs that are inciting. And you need to not assume that this means nothing. You need to be able to like recognize patterns. This is no bueno. All this racial divide. And not only that, the ignorant folks out there that think that if they just overthrow, and I'm not trying to like make fun of any particular group, but just like there's another type of idiocracy that thinks that it's just Trump. Fuck Trump. Just over, and then what? And then what, sweetheart? I'm not saying like I'm against you. I'm saying like, and then what? Explain to me what the New World Order is. Explain to me how the rise of China came to be. No, like work this through. Because you remove Trump, you have Pence. You still have the World War III agenda. Get real, sweetheart. You know, people want to protest, like what? They want to flip over a car? Bro, you don't represent me. So I challenged some people that were violent in Portland via a post I wrote on Willamette Week. Type in Alex Answer Willamette Week, see what I said. A challenge that Jesse Sponberg did. He claimed to be the guy that knocked out this other guy who was like, on the right, a Trump supporter. I don't support them, but I don't support them being knocked out. So I called them out. But I specifically called out Jesse Sponberg for claiming to be the guy that actually delivered the knockout blow, but he wasn't actually the guy. It was like another guy that came like out of the corner of the screen. It's like back into the left, like JFK, back into the left. And I like literally, this is a good point I'm on. We are such a dumbed down society. There'll be like this big televised event like, okay, so like these people came to protest immigrants. These people came, this dude got knocked out. And then like somehow the plot changed to where Jesse Sponberg is going to like Rocky pose. Like, I did it. I did it. And it's like, whoa, dude. Like I knew you were a scumbag, but this is taking it to a whole new level of trying to seize in on another man's punch. Not agreeing with your punch. I'm actually saying that you're just feeding into the fire. What have we seen since? Oh, we've seen the Proud Boys step up and with help from InfoWars add to the numbers in Portland. And then the very famous knockout blow to the guy that pulled out the baton. Guy pulled out the baton, but didn't really seem to know how to use it much. That's a dangerous thing about weapons. Of course, people are fighting unfair to begin with weapons. But the dude on the Proud Boys side knocked him out with one punch. And people will watch that and go, oh my God, that's so awesome. We're going to buy tickets and go up to Portland, be a part of this sport fight. And just all madness. There are reasons. Let's get paranormal. I want to get paranormal. Why stuff like that goes down in major urban American cities where they have histories of hauntings and histories of prejudice, KKK marches. There's certain areas where there are strongholds in the U.S. Ironically, 100 years later, they're leftist, progressive strongholds, but yet there's a history. And the thing that people need to understand, you need to get beyond left and right with understanding these thought forms. You need to understand that they are thought forms. See, what people don't understand potentially about their own body chemistry, their own blood. See, a lot of people almost worship genetics and instincts. But there's a lower part of ourselves that's worth evolving beyond. Beyond the monkey mind, monkey woman, monkey man mind. Right? Includes all ethnicities. Right. A lot of people don't evolve beyond that. People they pick in their relationships, so they get duped into wars. You have elite power structures start flashing symbols to you as people are hypnotized by their smartphone. Boom, they've got an instant sleeper agent. I mean, it's getting scary. They control people through symbols and manufactured events and things that feed on ancestral programming. So anyone truly in the path of unplugging or freeing their spirit and or soul from this type of world, it's deep-seated root to not be a slave to your body's sensations. That's how there can be demonstrable truth that's been left behind for thousands and thousands of years. And I think it's disrespectful of people to come along and call it the New Age. No, the New Age movement, as I call it, is more of a bastardization of spiritual teachings from the East, from India, from other places, from the real authentic yogis, if you want to get literal. And I understand there's all these arguments, by the way, where people are being snowflakes on both sides about cultural appropriation. It's kind of interesting because, though, the physics of that do take place. There really are people that take elements of other people's cultures and teachings. They steal it. They rip it off. They scratch off the original name. They make it theirs. Now, in the world of ufology, there's a lot of that. There's also certain belief systems that certain people out in the world are just simply incapable of doing certain things. It's always got to be the aliens, or it's always got to be certainly. It's look, we're not alone in the universe. I don't think that at all. But there is something valid in looking at that area of contention that people around the third world have dealt with, where they have elements of their history where they may have actually built something and maybe it wasn't the aliens. And maybe there actually is an element of our ethnocentric country and society that will always marginalize things a certain way, as well as, think about Poltergeist 2, where he's like, let me in. Remember, right? Some people you don't let inside, for once they're inside the guard, no bueno. But he's asking to be let in to the father of the household. He say, you got an Indian in there, and there's some bad things going on. You need to let me in. Right? There are influences of evil right now in our world, and even some YouTubers that are doing just that. You've got an Indian over there. You got to do something over there. They're doing this to you. You need me. While one other hand is picking the pocket. And we talked about this, did we not? Did we not talk about the Christopher Greens of the world that will actually come in the form, right, of the dominant group of people of a population to dupe them, while others that may have a different form, right, will be naturally viewed as sus. You got an Indian in there. Something's wrong in there. You need me. See, what I do is I give people credit in this world. And I say, no, not all people are the expression of the devil. Some people, though, in this fallen world don't believe there's much, though, and aspiring much beyond. And this involves multiple ethnicities. So you have a choice. And I see what's on the internet. I see that there are people that in the past I would consider to be my peers And I believe they are leading people to absolute darkness. It's my responsibility to say what I see. What I see is a very corrupted conspiracy where the people that think that they're woke are a part of the conspiracy. Some of these people are being programmed to go after others. They didn't do shit to nobody. It cuts deep. And it hasn't really come out yet because it hasn't really happened yet. But you see, this world is a funny thing. It has a way of not only ignoring the warnings, especially when they're like legitimate and based in like logic and not just crystal ball reading. You know, like my prediction that Trump would be the selection. It's not an election, it's a selection. It's carrying out an agenda. Then we would see a conflict with Russia and China. This sweet back and forth between Putin and Trump would be a house of cards in the Game of Thrones that would come crashing down like towers of 911. And then what do we see right now from the news, by the way, regarding Putin? Like, I really need to alert the bot system by repeating it. Yeah, the latest announcement from Vladimir Putin on their arsenal that is being unraveled very shortly after the announcement from Trump that they're going to pull out of the weapons agreement. That they're not going to build certain things. Okay, so they pulled out. Let me dumb this down. And now they're going to build it all and point it at each other. Let me say this slowly, right? Archon conspiracy, mutual assured destruction, mega death. What do you mean? Why would they do it? They're already doing it. Look overseas. I'm not trying to make you feel guilty. I'm not trying to feel guilty myself, right? You can rise above in intellectualism and emotionalism, like your auric field. And understand when I say, look at this issue over here, that like you're not being attacked. And that level, if that's cemented in a psyche that you're being attacked, what's the point of even watching this video? What's the point anymore? Unless it's just entertainment. And if so, so be it. But hopefully over time you'll get this. This isn't about any group of people being guilty. Now, we do raise questions here. Are there people being silent while millions are being evaporated off the face of the earth? Well, what me worry? Like Alfred from the cover of Mad Magazine. What me worry? Literally with a smirk. Now that's what I have the bone of contention with. The smirk needs to be confronted. Other people that say things that could encourage those very people being persecuted even further, even more so, race war theology, illusions of separation, etc., 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 birth guilt, etc., etc. It's one thing if there's a group of people that's actually violently being attacked. It's another if people are actually being afraid of babies that are about to be born, that are different. Now that's a walk down to the dark side, in which once you wake up to the fact that America's going down that road, numbers. How do they continue this, Alex, and keep people in the dark? Well, you know, it's interesting that you asked that hypothetically if you were to, because it is true that certain organizations like the SPLC can't be trusted because for years they targeted simply the alternative media. But you see, the average person isn't going to realize that. But here's the kicker. It's a special kind of conspiracy or mind control or social engineering if they convince the entire alternative media that there are no hate crimes at all, period, or radical groups that are mysterious and clearly seem to be funded that are operating, including in Colorado, Western Slope to Denver to Boulder. This has been a bigger year than previous years. Someone's funding something that seems to be part of a long-term mission or goal in preparation for 2020. Now, watch Alex Jones now. Watch that mock Crip blood beat in with Gavin, right? That's programming. You know when Alex Jones said, this is a family show. For years and years and years, this is a family show. Yeah, no doubt. I thought that was more of a joke. No. He was in the business of programming families early on. Actually came out of the supermarket here. And there comes a kid, young kid, maybe 9 years old, 10 years old. He's got one of those InfoWars shirts on, but one with the Roman helmet. And it's like they're actually brainwashing kids that are new InfoWars content consumers for the race war of tomorrow. Somebody that would have been watching Alex like 10 years ago, Jones that is, 15 years ago, they would be getting all that 9/11 stuff. It was really, really critical for them to turn that movement in on its head so nobody would touch 9/11 and research around it or what's happened to the Afghan people. History of Afghanistan, heaven forbid there actually be a discussion about the Russian occupation of Afghanistan from 1979 to 1989. You know, it would be in my travels, it would be in some of the interviews that I would do with people in the alternative media that I would realize that they wouldn't want to talk about Russia in 1979. That is actually a bone of contention with some people. Adjust, right? It's really fun here doing things on the fly, trying new things. Without having $1 million studio or set. And we won't even bother to edit. Right now, I have the generator going. So we'll be bringing this video to you tonight. We'll be going back to one of our earlier thoughts here. Being New Year's Eve. New Year's Eve always being... I'm sure those of you that have worked in food and beverage that are watching now know what I'm getting at. And why do we see some of the fights on New Year's Eve? Some of the crazy behavior on New Year's Eve? Increased DUIs on New Year's Eve, right? Things of that nature where people don't have the common sense to get a designated driver or they're for some reason so fucked up that they're being pulled over, right? And it's like, we're in winter. Most people don't meditate. Most people take things to extremes. Most people don't realize that during periods in which there's less light, they may be vulnerable to a certain level of influence or hijack. And people are vulnerable to a certain level of influence or hijack. You know, ultimately, it's like we're dealing with trickster spirits to a certain degree that almost like to sit back and target humans and watch them crash. And I want to conclude on this, upload this, and come back maybe with more. There are some people that report being TIs, for example, that are successful. So I've heard some people say that there does appear to be a pattern with some people being targeted because they're successful or talented. It's almost, I believe that is the case, right? I'm just being conservative in my speech. It's almost as if there are spirits out there jealous of our ability, of our communication abilities, what we can do in the real world. That's ultimately why I think there is like more of a dark agenda when people off themselves in certain areas, right? There could be a brain chemistry imbalance. There could also be some dormant thought forms that are hungry for souls. And perhaps it's only when we're in human form like this that we're able to do certain things that can allow us to evolve. It's like if we're going to evolve and do certain things have to be done in a human form in order to go upward. If people go downward, right, all that time and work that went into this, including angels and miracles, right, that would all basically go to waste. Well, that's not very spiritual. That's not very grateful. And to really have true faith in the Creator and cosmos is to have, for example, if someone's living a certain life to where what they do and say could be dangerous. Well, living a particular way of life like that could be one in which some people self-destruct. But someone with a true sense of faith says, even if some things are possible, I'm not going to go down that road. In fact, I'm going to help people escape that road. I'm going to help souls. You have the power to do that too. You have the ability to help this channel other than financially. And there's a lot more help, by the way, though, with regards to that can help me in helping the world by reaching more people. And there's many steps in a way to being better positioned myself other than this current environment. But for the here and now, I will do what I can with what I have to work with. What I'm not going to do is start throwing then everything and all my time and energy back into the internet when the internet seems to be erasing us. Now, the universe at any time has the ability to create certain situations or signs that can enable someone to reach a lot more people through just certain acts or things moving in motion. You know, just like hitting the jackpot and that 777. Bing, 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 bing. The universe has my prayers, is what I'm saying. So there's ways in which it's been drawn out long ago, ways in which this could be way easier. But as it is right now, I'm coming back to a lot of the same themes. And I'm moving into a new period in which moving away from YouTube as a whole may be necessary for my own growth at some point in the foreseeable future. And in a way, almost starting over. It isn't until you actually walk in my shoes and talk about the actual things that I talk about while also being unique in certain ways, which has already been disclosed to you. Unless you've actually walked down that road, you don't know how heavy that weight is. And somebody can do something for 12 years, 13 years, 14 years, 15 years, and at the end of the period go, okay, now, where is the love? Where is the appreciation? Where are the women, for example, that appreciate anything about this program in its 13th and 14th year? And the audience needs to know the truth. It isn't there. It isn't there at all. Now, this type of gnosis doesn't have to break a person or lead someone into a victim consciousness or a woman-hating consciousness, but just to remind people, this content is not supported in large numbers. Those few people that do support it, right, that's very much appreciated, and very few people are like those people. But never become confused and think because there may be some production that I put into this and try to use now a real microphone, not just the audio off the laptop. This is then being broadcast on radio stations. That leftists are gathering together and immigrants are gathering together and people in the third world are hearing my voice translated. Only a few hundred of you seem to be receiving this. Now, other things can happen that are almost like miracles or acts of the universe where the algorithm starts bringing more people to me because I know that the universe is capable of doing good things through in or within YouTube. It's not all bad. And not all people that have a lot of views, for example, are putting out propaganda. So I'm already situated, the time and the place, right, YouTube, 2018, with a very large library of information that people could benefit from watching, even videos that are 3 years old, 4 years old, 5 years old. But there's another body of work, a written body of work, that the second half of my life at some point has to take more seriously and put as much energy into the energy put into this YouTube channel. There's also certain transcripts that can actually be gathered from the CC option. We might as well use AI for something, right, that benefits us. So there's actually tons of text transcription of much of the content on YouTube. Some of it is accurate, disturbingly accurate. A lot of it is not. But we're reaching a point where some of these things may actually start to happen. These are times for prayer. These are times for finding oneself. These are times for attempting a certain level of purification to become better people than we were previously. So there's going to be a major distinction between what really charges me, what really has my focus, and the polarity. And the polarity are many of the other individuals, usually those with higher view counts and subscribers, the Alex Jones and AMTVs of the world and the Red Elephants of the world, and the people that came in just recent years. They're considered the truth. No offense to McDonald's eaters, just as that's considered to be an authentic burger or source of cow protein. A McDonald's burger, for example, right? They are counterfeit versions of the original. And there wouldn't be counterfeits or COINTELPRO unless the truth actually existed. Unless the truth actually existed. There is a truth, Neo, about the New World Order. But in order to find it, this is the world of the New World Order as it exists today. Somebody needs to be able to put on those sunglasses like in They Live and actually see the manufactured racial divide that doesn't have to happen. That is one purpose. That's to entrap those souls next to distract those people that are involved in the fighting. And even people that may be afraid in the future of being victimized, they also have the responsibility of rising above their ancestral programming of fear. There's things that may activate in some of our bodies, right? As we start to see what's happening to others, as we may even look at the ground, certain pictures featuring dead people on the ground. Those people on the ground may look like you or me. And we may feel certain sensations when we look at these pictures overseas of dead bodies on the ground that look more like some of us than others. And we wonder what will happen when we're 45. We wonder what will happen when we're 50. We wonder why or how a society could be so cold-hearted that they wouldn't even care about people that lived in such pain. Are you entertained, by the way? I'm just asking, are you entertained? Is this philosophical enough? Are you entertained? Just thought I would ask. But there is a certain level of focus required for those of us that are some of the few of the line that's being eradicated off the face of the earth, potentially forever. We don't know. Will it be a solar flare intervention? I'm not sure. But millions gone in a few years is pretty significant in my eyes. And it's a sign of more things to come. Let me just ask, and if we close, what if everybody, though, that was afraid just stopped being afraid and spoke their truth? And talked about these things. And allowed people to throw tomatoes at them, to unsubscribe from them, to say, I'm going to withdraw support. I don't like how you're going on this level. It's getting very real. It's getting very real up in here. It's getting hot in here, so take off all your clothes. It is getting so real. I'm going to take back. And it's just like, I already dealt with this with the West Coast crowd and the Portland crowd. That's so 2006. Oh, Alex, 2012 is coming. Everything is just, 2012 came. And I think some sort of a psychic empathy bomb, no compassion bomb went off above the planet because I saw a dark side erupt. What did happen to the nurturing, loving females after 2012? What did happen to female sexuality after 2012? All titles of videos on this channel you can find 3 years ago, right? Why aren't there more protests from the American women regarding what has happened to women overseas? I'm sorry, did I just let off a fart in the room that just evacuated everyone? Only energetically, by speaking the truth and asking people, my Lord, do you have a soul? If so, how is it explaining how and why things are taking place? Because I don't believe that it's an evolved soul that just points one's finger and said it's their karma. Right? There's purpose in realizing what's going on this planet. So I've said enough, right? It's New Year's Eve. There's going to be like a ton of stories in the news. Look at the robot radical apocalypse. They're going to get drunk on New Year's Eve. All the cops are already going to be out en masse. There's going to be fights outside. And there's going to be a bunch of jails full. And a bunch of people are going to have court dates between January 1st and January 3rd. And it's just like, this is it. This is it. This is the zombie apocalypse. And in the zombie apocalypse, like Plato in the Cave, anyone that wasn't totally zombified, that tried to point in the direction of the sun, try to point in the direction of China way in advance before Trump came on the stage and went China, China, China. Like I was one of those few. Old school. The world will just call you crazy. And the world will just say, well, if 1,000 of us that are all ignorant say that you're crazy at the same time, it must be so. So this is a fallen world. A little advice for somebody. Step back from just trying to appease anyone in this world. There's like a whole slew of ideas that I have for an ongoing series of advice for new YouTube content creators, creating healthy boundaries between yourself and others that consume your content. Other things that need to be considered, because these are things that we weren't told. It's just like Beetlejuice. It's like, they have this like convenient book, like Book for the Dead. Like there isn't, though, the convenient book for the YouTuber that talks about the paranormal, how to create certain healthy boundaries while discussing issues regarding them. I mean, you're going to have to come to face the facts. This isn't a movie review channel. This isn't a beauty channel. This isn't a wrestling channel. This is a channel where I deal with hot topics that at some point and sometimes are too hot to cover on YouTube. Topics that are censored. Topics that unfortunately are thrown in with the right wing or thrown in with the left wing. Thank you for some of those that are just, they're at this level that they can't bump up any further. So I'm Alex Ansary. I want to thank you for watching. If you want to donate, check out the PayPal links down below. I highly recommend donating here before anyone go out and drink, get a DUI, and have to spend $300 to get your car at a tow. It can also be seen as good luck, a good luck charm, right? So maybe you're going to go out and have a wild night on the town, but, you're going to visit alexansary.tv, donate first before going to that pimp and hoe costume party in downtown Portland, Oregon. I'm Alex Ansary, signing off.